Oh, great. What's the next record going to be about? Man versus machine?
Welcome. How are you, Dino?
I am good. I'm just here in sunny Los Angeles and
Yeah,
California and doing promotion for our new record that's coming out on June 18th.
awesome, man. So I can imagine the weather's a lot nicer in sunny California than it is here in London.
Beautiful day outside, but unfortunately, I am stuck inside doing it.
So when you were writing Aggression Continuum, what was the process like? I believe is it the longest time that Fear Factory have had between albums released?
I want to say yes. Yeah, the record was done initially in 2017, but because of legal issues, we couldn't obviously use the trademark name up until July 2020 was when that we regained the trademark rights and we were able to move forward. So the record had been sitting on the shelf for 3 years. So we decided, hey, I think we need to add some improvements to this record before we put it out. And one of them in particular was the drums. We went back in with Mike Heller and we re-recorded the drums because initially it had programmed drums. So we recorded live drums. And so that definitely added a new energy and a new spark to these songs.
Well, I was going to say, given that you wrote the record in 2017, was there kind of an urge to kind of tinker with riffs and things like that? Like, because you've had such a long time to sit on it.
Yeah, I didn't really change anything in the riffs. I might have changed like a little bit of the structure, but that's about it. But I did do a reamp. I went and reamped the guitars. In other words, I changed the guitar tone.
Okay.
Yeah, we did rearrange some of the vocals here and there, and we added more keyboards.
So what was the process like back in 2017 when you were writing the riffs and things like that? What was kind of going on in your head?
What was going on in my head when we were writing the music is like, is this going to come out as Fear Factory? Because we didn't have any idea if we were going to have to change the name or not, because it was because the trademark was under legal litigation. So when we were writing the music, we were like, oh shit, is this going to be a Fear Factory record? But the process was pretty much just programming the drums, getting the riffs syncopated with the guitar riffs and the drums syncopated together. Mm-hmm. Bert was pretty much singing pretty aggressively on the record, and I think that's the reason why the record was called Aggression Continuum.
I definitely agree. I think, is it Collapse, where he sounds like he's literally about to disintegrate?
Yeah, he sounds like he's going to collapse, right? Yeah, we wanted to do one of those big fucking it sounds like a fucking tractor rolling down the street, just something massive that's going to just knock down a building or something. We wanted to do something that represents that and collapse. When Bert told me the title, I'm like, okay, what would a collapsing type of thing sound like? And so I wrote a riff around that.
That's cool, because I feel like in a way a lot of the Fear Factory songs are kind of like onomatopoeic, like you sort of hear the word and it reflects it in the riff, if that makes sense.
Totally reflects it in the music, totally. And I think that we've had the beauty of doing that, of picking the right words to fit with the right riffs, and we see things, like we visualize what it's going to sound like, what it's going to be like a song like Fuel Injected Suicide Machine. That's like it's about a car. It's about a person in a car, right, driving his car. And it's based off the character, the Knight Rider from Mad Max.
Oh, cool.
What would that visual sound like with this riff? And so I just wrote the riff that I could visualize what it would look like. Like, in other words, Terminator, what would it sound like if we wrote the soundtrack? Demanufacture.
Yeah. Would you say it's Terminator 1 or 2? Manufacture?
Well, it depends on who you ask, but for me, it's Terminator 2.
Yeah, is that your favorite?
No, yeah, I would say so, but I think it's tied with. I think Terminator One and Terminator Salvation, to me, are tied with each other.
Well, speaking of taking things in a different sort of light, so what exactly is Aggression Continuum about? Like, is there an overall theme, or is it one album, or?
There's definitely an overall theme for sure. It's just social, being socially aware, and also the relationship between human and AI. Sometimes it's a struggle, sometimes it's a battle, sometimes they're one. But in this case, it's the awareness of the AI thinking that it's human. It's now we could start with the album cover. The album cover has an automaton on the album cover, and it's in the shape of an FF, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it has I don't know if you've seen the cover, but maybe you have.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the legs are open, so it looks like an X, right?
Yeah.
And the X represents the Roman numeral 10, which is our 10th record, 10th studio record.
Cool.
So on the right FF, on the bottom part, there's a serial number. It says it says FF 103190. So that is the beginning of the machine, the birth of the machine, the birth of the band. Then if you go to Aggression Continuum, pretty much means that the aggression is going to continue, right? So it's kind of like the past is the serial number, the present is the automaton, and the continuum is what's going to be continuing into the future. So in the beginning of the album, one of the first lines you hear is, "Imagine your life taken from you." And that is like, basically represents the struggles that we went through just to get this record out. In the concept of the record, it's called RECODE. It's basically saying that what's happening is that AI is taking over and it's capturing humans and it's extracting them to the back of their head through portholes. They're extracting their memories, their consciousness, their soul, and implanting it into other AIs.
Oh, right.
So it thinks it's human. That's just the first song. But if you go all the way to the end, to the very last song, End of Line, it's like, it's the end of the line, but you can't, he's kind of saying it's not real. You can't believe it's real. But after that is an outro, and the outro has the speech to the movie Dune. There's a part where it's the fear is the mind killer speech. And in that speech, it says, "Once the fear is gone, only I remain." That's kind of like about me saying I'm the last sole survivor of the original members is continuing and who's not fearing to continue and move forward.
That's really, really interesting. I love the fact that you've got it's almost kind of, given the fact it's your 10th album, there's a lot of history in kind of like the individual tracks, but as a complete album, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, you could kind of go through track by track by track by track, right? Like Disruptor is the second song on the record.
Mm-hmm.
And that one, you might have seen the video. That's basically about anybody that's trying to disrupt certain things, right? In the video, in the context of the song and the video and the record, you have these 4 individuals that are trying to hack into the mainframe to disrupt the signal between the mothership to all these drones that are chasing them, that are also capturing humans to extract their memories and their mind and their soul. So that's what that's about, just about them trying to hack the signal, trying to disrupt the signal. Then you go into Aggression Continuum, where it talks about, in the intro, there's a dialogue between man and machine, where man is trying to tell machine, you're just a machine, you're not human. And the machine is like, no, I'm human. And he goes, no, I'm a man. You're just a machine. You're made to afflict death. The machine is confused. He doesn't get what the guy's trying to tell him because he thinks he's human. And that's what that song deals about. And then purity is like, the machine still thinking it's human. And in the chorus, it's saying, I am one of you. Take me as I am. That's kind of like saying, hey, I'm human just like you are. Mm. So it deals with a lot of the subjects like that. Collapse is just basically really trying to fucking destroy something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you hear it. It sounds like a ton of bricks. It sounds like a ton of bricks falling. You know what I mean?
In the one respect, you could kind of say, like in a classic sci-fi nature that the machines are taking over and things like that. But what's your opinion on like social media and things like that? Like, have you seen The Social Dilemma, where it's kind of like technology is almost so ingrained in the way that we live now that we're almost kind of already controlled by machines, if you see what I mean?
Well, we're definitely addicted to it. I'll put it that way. We're addicted to social media. We're addicted to attention. We're addicted to reaction. What kind of reaction people will get. I guess people don't realize that sometimes people just spout off stuff, and I don't think that people realize like there's, they're hurting other people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Words can hurt other people, unfortunately. People say sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That's not true. Words do hurt people, and words do definitely, drive people to suicide or depression, things like that. I'm very much on social media, totally. But, I think I probably have thicker skin because I'm already used to people talking shit about me since the day I first got into this industry. A lot of magazines talking stuff about you. That's how it started. But you just get used to it over the years. You just get used to it and you just deal with it.
How did your sort of relationship come about, and why is it that you kind of go back to Reese? Like, what does he bring to Fear Factory?
Well, Reese is that other collaborator. He has that different element about him that adds something to the band for sure. 100%. Ever since 1992, when he did the Fear is the Mind Killer remix, he saw something and he heard something, and it definitely, I believe, we inspired each other. You know what I mean? So, when we went in to do demanufacture, and he wrote all the keyboards for that, right there, I knew that was the guy. I knew he was like going to be like almost that secret member. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And, kind of looking at things from a vocal perspective, I know that Burton has since left the band.
Mm-hmm.
But what, like, would your next singer kind of be sort of similar to Burton?
Well, we definitely got a clean slate, but at the same time, I want to respect what we did in the past. The 30 years of great body of work that we did. So the singer definitely has to represent that as best as he could. Now, if the person is going to sound identical to Bert, no, definitely not. But we're going to keep the tradition of doing heavy vocals with clean vocals.
I think personally that this is the most cinematic album you guys have put out to date.
Yeah, a lot of those changes were made after Burton. Well, a lot of those changes were made in 2020 when I got the rights to it and Bert quit the band. I was able to have free reign to pretty much experiment on all that stuff. So all that dialogue, the majority of that dialogue, I put in there, extra keyboards. I put on there, and just some of the arrangements on the songs in general. I was able to go back and do all that stuff, and obviously putting the live drums. So I had pretty much full reign to do what I wanted, and the record company gave me the okay to go ahead and do it.
Not to kind of put any words in anyone's mouth or anything like that, but were certain members like restricting of that, or was it kind of like fairly amicable?
Well, whenever you're in a band, there's always a compromise, right? Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Well, in this case, I was like, okay, so, Bert's out of the band. What am I going to do? What am I going to add? Like, boom. I had all these ideas and I wanted to throw them on the record. Just as simple as that.
Moving into science fiction and things like that. What is it that you love so much about sci-fi? Because it's clearly embedded in everything that Fear Factory do.
Yeah, it'd be like what happens if we were a black metal band. Like Satanism is clearly embedded in everything that we do. Everybody has a thing about them, right? And for us, it's always been sci-fi movies because that was what we bonded on, with my mates, since we were kids, and watching the old Star Trek and Star Wars movies, and going further with it, and just trying to learn, stuff that a guy named Ray Kurzweil, who's always talked about the singularity and nanotechnology, and just following his work and and just getting into all that stuff, and just trying to combine it with what's going around us right now in society and where the future might take us.
Of course. But imagine Fear Factory come out with an album that isn't about machines. Like, people would lose their minds.
Yeah, this record's not about technological advances, and you're like, what the fuck's going on? Yeah. Why did you change it on me? I don't want to hear about you getting your heart broken.
Machines have no hearts.
Exactly.
I've always found really interesting about your guitar playing is that it's so mechanized. It's so precise, and it in a way it can sometimes sound like a machine. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I purposely write it that way. In the very beginning, when I was starting Fear Factory, I was very bigly influenced by industrial music,
mm-hmm.
and even some hip hop, right? Because whoever was using the sampler at the time, they would sample guitar riffs, right? And sometimes you can hear the loop in the guitar riff. You can hear like the little part where it stops and then starts again, right? So, for instance, Public Enemy sampled Slayer in a song called Channel Zero, and you can hear the little stop start. So you hear the it would stop, right? So I was like, wow, okay, that's so cool. I can't really afford the samplers, but how do I make my riff sound like it's a loop? So, for instance, I'll give you a perfect example. South by Resistor on the Demanufacture record.
Yeah.
Second song, the riff goes. I just pretty much figured out how to make it sound like a loop.
What's your highlight of Aggression Continuum?
My highlight of Aggression Continuum was when I was starting to add all these extra elements to it, and
mm-hmm.
just seeing how it was all coming together, and that was how it was all starting to make sense to me. And then going into the mixing, and then after hearing Andy Steep mix the record, I was like, wow, okay, this is going to be another classic.
Awesome, man. Well, it's been a real pleasure having a chat with you, Dino. I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and have a long chat. I've just seen you chatting for about 45 minutes. The new album's fantastic, really, really great.
You got to say it's brilliant, mate. It's brilliant.
It's brilliant, mate.
Thank you very much. And last word is go to fearfactory.com for everything Fear Factory, where it's vinyls, CDs, cassettes, T-shirts, you name it, tour dates. It's all up there.
Take care, my friend.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.